is up, guys? Clay here, and we're back with another How to Get Radiant video, which is a series I'm creating to help lower elo players, basically just tips, all around tips for lower elo players or people who are new to this kind of game, help them get a head start on the massive learning curve that they're in for a game like this. I'm gonna try to not ramble as much in this video and keep it more short and to the point, but we'll see how that goes. So since the first episode was about the attacker side, naturally the second video is gonna be about the defender side. So let's hop in game and get into it. Alright, so the first thing you'll need to do when spawning in on the defender side for the first time is choosing where to play. Now, for most people, especially if you're new to the game, you won't really think too much about this. You'll just go wherever. But it's actually quite important. The decision of where to play can affect or can be affected by where you're most comfortable, what agent you're playing potentially, and where your teammates want to play. So every map has a default setup. We're using Haven again for an example because I like the I think this is one of the better maps. So the default setup for Haven is 2A, so you'll have one playing A long and one A short or sewers, and then one B, one garage, and then one on C. So that is the default setup. Now this can change obviously throughout the half depending on where the enemy is going, how they're playing, and like eco rounds. You might want to stack a site or play a little bit differently based on what the enemy is doing, but every map has a default, and that's probably what you should do for the first round at the very least. Depending on the map and depending on the agent you're playing, you might be expected to go to a certain place. Like I am Sage here, so most often on this map, almost always Sage is playing B, and we'll go over that in more detail, or I guess I can go over that right now. So the reason Sage likes to play B is because, let's say this is right in the middle of the map obviously, and let's say we hear some noise at A, but they're not committing yet, they're not 100% committing. I can wall this and just go help my teammate, and we know that B is going to be good, and we can have the garage player leaning in between garage and B in case they start breaking, and I could just play right here and help my players on A. Then we have 3 on A. If they do decide to commit, I'm already here, and the garage player is like here. So he can come quickly as well. And the same thing for C, obviously, I could wall and go to C. Sage also, having her in the middle of the map is very nice because her delay utility is one of the best in the game. Also, her heals are really good for holding a site, keeping people healthy, obviously, is really nice. I can wall this off, and then say they're pushing garage. I can get my slow in there, and then now they're all slowed up in here. We could throw raise nades in here, throw the Roomba in here, clear this out. Say they're already in the hall, I could throw that in there, or I could just leave garage entirely. If they're rushing fast, come here, throw that there. Now they're slowed on the site, I could throw this long, easy peasy. So that's why Sage is typically in B. It's mostly because of the wall here. There's 3 choke points in this, which Sage thrives in any choke points, so that's why she plays in B. Another example of that would be like Cypher. Cypher is a really probably one of the most site specific agents in the game. So he on this map is almost always playing C because he's got this long angle for his camera, so he can discover them way back there just off of his camera, you know, right here or up here, right here. He can see them way back there and get that free info. And then he has like trips here sometimes, and a cage here, and a trip here, or maybe a trip here, right there. And it's really hard to take this site from a Cypher solo playing it. Depending on your agent, sometimes it matters. Other times, like for example, most other agents don't have a specific spot on this map. Like Breach, he could play A, he could play Garage, he could play anything really. Brimstone, you usually want a Brimstone closer to the center, not solo holding, so he can smoke for others. So like maybe Breach or Brimstone A short or Garage, but really they can play anywhere. Now if you're not playing an agent that is specific to a site, you mostly just want to play where you're most comfortable if it's possible. If you feel comfortable anywhere on the map, then that is even better because you can just sit and spawn and wait for your team to fill out onto the site, and they're most likely going to go exactly where they feel most comfortable. They're going to default run to the place where they normally play. So if there's a spot open and you feel comfortable playing there, you just fill it, and then everybody gets to play what they're comfortable with, and you get to play whatever. So that is how you decide where to play on the defense side. The next thing we're going to be going over is playing your position appropriately. And now this depends on the map, obviously, but we're using Haven as an example here. This comes with experience, just knowing what you need to do based on what the map is, what agent you're playing, and where you're playing. So let's say I'm playing A long here, and let's pretend I'm Sova. A long on this map, you definitely do not want to be playing like here the entire round, just holding, because that gives them free control of A lobby, and they can like silent walk all the way up to here before I see them, and then say they kill me or I see them and then I hide. Now I'm right here and they're just gonna rush out and take this fight and kill me, and then they're already on the site for free, and then my A short player has to try and kill them on the site. So A long players are typically meant to spot peek this or jiggle peek it and just gather info to see if they're coming. You'll often see an opper here too. You can op this angle and just hold it, and then when they cross, you take the shot and you fall off. It's like, okay, they crossed to A, and then maybe hold this tight like this to see if they come. But it's very important for the A long player to gather this info, because otherwise they can walk all the way up long and all the way up short and then execute the site very easily. These positions are, we'll call them choke points. I'm not sure what to call them, but they're basically where the attackers and defenders meet on the map to contest for map control. So this point is kind of contested. It's more like short and long are contested, but the attackers will for sure get control of lobby. There's nothing you can do other than rushing all the way up short and killing them all right here, but it's not plausible. So they'll get control of lobby, but your job is to hold them from just walking all the way up A long for free and up A short for free. So this is what's called a choke point, and just like, I'm not sure what to actually call it because a choke point isn't actually the right word, but it's a contested point of the map. Let's see, another point, a big example of this is garage in over here by C. The wall's right here, so the garage player, or the wall's right here, sorry. So the garage players are already in here, but it's very easy for the attackers to come out because they get default control of mid. They have all of this control by default, basically. So you're most likely going to have fights here in garage with the attackers trying to take it. So if you gain control of garage and like you killed the guy window, or they fell off the site here, it's very dangerous because there's multiple ways that you can go. You can go right to C site. It's very quick to get to C site, or you can come up through the window, and then you have multiple options again. You can go back to C site here and do a split through garage, or you can go all the way CT and hold that rotate from A, or you could go into B and split from front garage into B, or you can just go back and then you have the same options. So the more options you have, the more your opponents are going to be confused about what you're doing. They don't know what you're doing. So that's why garage is a very contested point of the map, and you want to hold it for your team. So without getting too off topic here, A long is another one of those points where you definitely do not want to be playing passively on A long. You want to gather the info if they're there. And if you don't have an op, you probably don't want to just hold this unless you're feeling really confident in your shot in this game. Kind of just want to jiggle peek it, most likely. Or on eco rounds, maybe hold this angle and try to get a couple cheese frags. So another example of this is if you're playing an agent that has recon abilities such as Sova or Cypher, it's even better for these positions because Sova can be spot peeking this angle, let's say for the first 20 seconds, and there's no A rush, so he's like, okay, they're not rushing A, guys. I might fall off. So he drops back to here, pulls his arrow out, and shoots an arrow back here, and it lands right on the ground there. So that's going to hit anyone gathered outside of A, and he knows that they're not in lobby because he was just looking. So it's going to hit anyone right here, and say he throws that arrow and he sees no one. He's like, okay, I'm going to leave you, short player, whoever's playing short, I'm going to leave you, just hold that. They're most likely pushed up off of that info that they're not in lobby and they're not back garden. He's going to push up and he can hold this whole site by himself just by holding this angle, and he knows that they're not creeping up. So now Sova, for free, can just rotate off of the site and go help another site using his recon arrow. The same thing for Cypher, say on C. He throws his traps up. He's got a trap here. He's got a trap here. He's got his cam here. First 20-30 seconds, he doesn't see anything C long. He leaves his cam up. He comes to help garage or comes to help B and just checks his cam every few seconds to see if they're creeping up C long. And as long as they're not, that's one player you don't have to have on C long to hold it. You just have the cam there to gather the info. And that brings me to my next point, and probably the most important aspect of the defender side is gathering info. So you know that the attackers have a set time to get on the site and get the plant down, or kill all the defenders, obviously. but that's a minute and 40 seconds, 100 seconds. The longer you can delay them by gathering their info and making them rethink their strategy, the better, because it will rush them in the later half of the round. So for this example, let's use a similar example to what we were using before. So let's say we have Soba playing A short this time, and earlier in the round they tried to execute in garage, but it backfired. They got picked by the garage player, and then they had to fall off because they were getting slowed and all kinds of stuff, so they had to fall off. And that was really early in the round, so they've been kind of quiet, just like spot peeking stuff for the rest of the round, and we don't know where they're going. Now there's only 30 seconds left in the round. I back up. I still have my A long player spot peeking this. I back up and I throw a recon arrow. I'm Soba. I throw a recon arrow back here, and I spot 3 players. Boom, 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 right there. Immediately, I know that with 30 seconds left, they have to either now commit very quickly to an A push, or they have to even quicker decide to run back and go either B or garage to C. And they're gonna have to do this very fast, because now we know exactly where they're at. So I'm gonna call to my team, guys, there's 3 back A lobby. So that's probably gonna pull the B player over to A, and then the garage player over to B, and then the C player over to garage. So you just shift your whole team over, gain control of the map, because there's only 4 players alive. We saw 3 of them here, so there's only 1 in any other spot on the map. So maybe the Cypher leaves his cam up and comes into garage, maybe up here, and holds the rotate through mid window and front grass. So now we know if they're going to be leaving. That's more info gathered. We'll know if they're leaving or not. And if they're not leaving, we know that they're committing. So then the B player will just leave B and come straight here, and then we have 4v4 on the site, and it's an easy peasy hold, because they have to do it very quickly. They only have 30 seconds. So gathering info, especially late in the round, is very, very crucial, because if you do that, say you're an attacker and that happens to you, you're going to start getting very panicked, because now they know exactly where you are. You only have 30 seconds, and you're just going to have to commit to something. Someone's going to call. So we're here. Soba arrow lands right behind us, and we pop it. Okay, go. I guess we're going. So we just start sprinting, and there's just not time to check all the angles, because you have to make it to the site before the defenders rotate, because you want this 4v2, 4v3 advantage. You don't want to be playing 4v4 or 4v5 trying to take a site. So there's just no time to clear all the angles. You can't play slow. You can't silence your footsteps. You just have to go onto the site and try to get the frags. So that puts the attackers into a panic the more info you gather, especially later in the round. So I'll make a quick point here. Let's use that same scenario but the start of it. They were pushing garage, right? It seemed like they were committing garage. We saw like 4 here, and they were in, and one of them died, but then stage was slowing or something, and they had to fall off. But let's say they spot them here before they're even in garage, and my teammate says, oh, I see 3 front garage, and both the A players just leave A and just run off A and go to B or go to garage, and now A is completely wide open, but they haven't committed yet. They just saw 3 out here. They could easily run all the way back through here and go back to A before you even know it, and you won't hear them. And then by the time they're in sewers, now you're hearing them, but I'm right here trying to rotate back, and they're going to be on A site before me. So basically what I'm trying to get to is, don't early rotate. Don't over rotate. You need to know that when the enemy is committing, and this is part of communication too, which is what I'll be going over in another video in this series. But you need to know when the enemy is committing to the site. Basically, the point in which there's no turning back. Like, it just makes too much sense for them to continue going forward, and then you can rotate or start pushing the flank. But that depends on the match and the elo and how you're feeling and what you've done previously in the half and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, it's very important to not early rotate. You need to hold your site until you're sure that they're not going to be coming to A anytime soon, or to your site anytime soon. Then you can go help your teammates. And then if you do decide that and you rotate, and then say they're in garage, they killed my garage player, and my C player is holding C, and they're still not here, and I'm holding this. They're still not committing to C, and my B player is holding this, and we still don't see anything. They're not committing to B either. And then, 15 seconds goes by. Okay, I need to go back, because they could be leaving and going back to A, even though they had garage control, and they could have taken the 3v1 or 4v1 on C. They're not. So that means that they're likely leaving and trying something else. They could be going all the way back through C long, but that's why we have a Cypher cam here to check that for us. But I need to go back to A to make sure that they don't just walk right back through here and walk all the way up A for free. So the next point I want to make is delaying an execute. So, or delaying info gathering in general, but specifically an execute. So we'll use the example that we've been using. They went garage early, got picked, had to fall off. There's now 30 seconds left in the round. Let's say I'm Sova playing A short and I have a breach playing A long. And I dart over and I spot the 3 of them here, and there's 30 seconds left. And let's say in this example, they start committing. There's 4 alive. We know there's 4 alive, but we see 3 of them here. So we assume the other one's like mid window or like coming shortly behind them. But we hear them start running up A long. So obviously the first thing I'm gonna do, as Sova, you don't have many delay options, but on short, I can wait until I start hearing them and start shooting my shock darts and doing damage. But you may basically want to be holding a safe angle to where you're not like, I don't want to be playing here, hearing them step up short, unless I have an op like this maybe and I get a pick and I can fall off. But I don't want to be playing here and just like taking a fight against 3 of them so they can get an easy pick and get onto the site. I want to be playing a more unusual angle, like maybe here. It's like, okay, I got A short, no worries. And then my teammates are running through CT, so we have a crossfire soon. But let's say you do have a breach on A long. So what he can do to delay, but let's say you do have a breach playing A long. What he can do to delay is, let's say they are doing a 2-and-2 split, 1 A long, 2 A long, 2 A short. He hears them step in, he can flash this wall, peek, try and get a frag, and if they're both blind, you know, maybe get a frag and then fall off before the other one challenges him. Then he could throw his little blast thing. I don't know what it is, but he could throw his little blast thing right here and basically hit this whole thing and keep them from running through. And while that's charging up, he can charge up his fault line, I think it's called, the stun. Put that right here, so when they're coming up, he can do that as well. Or if he gets a pick there and he feels like the Sage isn't pushing after that thing, he can fault line this and help Sova. Sage is one of the best delayers in the game. So if Sage happens to be here when they're executing the site, you can easily just wall this, start slowing this. That's completely slow. They're not getting through that. Just hold this angle like this. Okay, the slow's about to run out. Do that again. Time is ticking. They only have 15 seconds to get on the site. My team's rotating. The round is basically over at this point because I walled that. They're going to start breaking this wall, trying to get through as quickly as possible. But my team is rotating and they're just not going to have time to do anything. So when you are holding a site and you know the enemy team is committing and they're trying to execute your site, the first thing you need to do is call that to your team. They're committing, rotate. And then secondly, you want to delay and buy as much time as possible. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if you do get some kills, if you get a frag. But it's much more safe and accurate to delay them as long as possible and not take the fights, because the attackers want you to take the fights. Say the A long player and the A short player both, the A short player's here and he swings and takes this fight right here, and I swing and take this fight right here, and we both die because it's 1v2 there and 1v2 there. We both die. Now they have a free site. They just run on the site and they just hold this angle while they're running on the site and someone plants, and then they have the site for free. It's just risky to take fights when you don't know 100% you're going to win the fight, especially against an execute when there's multiple players. However, if you're using your utility in combination with the peak, sometimes you can get free picks like that. Like say I'm a Raze here and I throw my Roomba out and then I wait for them to start shooting at it and then I peek and boom, op them. And I get one frag and I fall off. Or I throw my nade, and as they're scrambling to come forward past my nade or back up, I peek, get a free pick and fall off. Basically, the kills are okay if you can get them, but it's a very high risk, high reward to take a peek into an execute. What you would want to do more is just delay them with your utility and hold the angles that are important. So like if I'm playing A long, I would fall back to here probably and hold this angle. They come around this corner, I get a free pick, then I fall off the angle and I hold this one. Or I have a teammate like playing up and short in here. I can take this angle, hold this one, get another pick, fall off even further to here and hold this angle, or go up to heaven. Basically just delaying the attackers and making them check all the corners and slowing them down as long as possible. Okay, so the final point I want to make is retaking a site. So let's say your delay tactics don't work quite well enough, or you guys both peek these angles and you look for frags, but you both die and they take the site. So now it's a 4v3 and your team is still rotating. They take the site and they're planning, and you have 2 teammates coming here, coming to CT, and 1 going heaven, and you guys have to retake the site. Down a man. So the bomb goes down. If they're in lower elo, you might see people taking the fights willingly, like holding this angle like this. I mean, with an op, this is actually okay. But like, let's say I have a Vandal and I'm just like holding this angle like this. You don't want to be doing this as an attacker. You want to be holding angles like this, or, you know, like this, or under hell like this. Basically, making them round a corner and check the different corners, because like I'm in this corner, they'll have to look here, here, and here, and, you know, potentially there, to clear all these angles. You know, even here is a good one. So basically, as a defender, retaking the site, sometimes you're gonna have to play a little more aggressively and recklessly than you want to. If you don't have the utility to take the site and clear the angles, like if I'm Phoenix, I can flash out here, but if I don't have any flashes, I'm just gonna have to rely on my teammates to hold this angle while I peek this one, and then they continue to hold this angle while I peek that one, and then I need someone to hold this angle while I peek this one, and then hold that angle, and it's just a lot of angles to check. So if you have utility, now is the time to use it on a retake. So with Breach, for example, he could blast charge this wall. I think that's what it's called. Blast charge this wall. That clears out this corner. So now, let's say I have a teammate holding this, and then Breach blast charges this. Now I could peek out and hold this while this is getting blast charged. And then if there's someone there, they're going to have to either flush back all the way to there or swing. So I'm holding this. Blast charge is going off. At the end of that, I'm going to peek and see if they are there. If they're not there, I know this corner is clear. Now, that's one thing we don't have to check again. We can peek this without having to worry about this. And I have a teammate now that's swung out and holding this for me while I peek under hell, or under heaven, which is hell. Knowing your agent is very important here, because for Breach, you could like flash up through this wall and hit probably back there and in this corner and back there. But just knowing where the flash is going to hit is very important. Phoenix, for example, just flashing this, you'll hit this corner and all the way over there. Probably not here, but there's other things you can do to clear angles as well. Like Sova could stand here and drone, and then you follow the drone. He checks here, that's clear. He checks here, and then Sova gets all this info for free. There's no one under here. Now all of this site is clear. Your teammates can just walk right out and not have to check any of that, just be holding this angle and just be walking out like this, and that's huge. You can also recon arrow over, land the recon arrow, you know, on top of this box, and it sees this, it sees that, it sees over here, it sees here, it sees here. Obviously the defender, the attackers are going to try to pop that, but usually one wave will come out before they pop it, and you'll get to see where people are playing. So the final thing I want to say about retakes is communication is very, very important on retakes, and this is going to be the hardest part for lower elo players, especially if you're just solo queuing. You can't force your teammates to talk to you, but what you can do is take the leadership role, take the IGL role, and say, okay, someone hold my left while I peek this. So I'm going to have a teammate holding this, or this is a bad example, but someone hold my default while I peek short. So I'll have a teammate holding right here while I'm walking here, peeking this, and he's holding this angle for me. You'll want to coordinate with your team to clear the angles as safely as possible. And this is one of the bigger differences between higher and lower elo. A lot of people think it's mostly aim. And yeah, it's probably a lot to do with aim, but higher and lower elos differentiate a lot in communication. And the difference between retaking and not retaking a site almost always comes down to lack of communication or good communication. Because if I know exactly what angles are clear, and I know this angle, that one, this one, this one, that one, this one, and under hell, or hell is clear, all of that's clear, then I could just, and I know for sure because my teammates called it out, I could just run out on a site like this. And I know then that they're probably playing post-plant long, just waiting for someone to tap to defuse, or short, or behind this box. That's the only way, the only places they could be. And I have a teammate heaven, presumably. So yeah, that is the basics, I believe, of the defender side. I know I rambled still in this video. I hope I kept it less so than the attacker video, but we'll see when I come down to editing this. The next video, I think, will be on the economy. Basically how to manage your economy, when to buy, when to light buy, when to save, all of that stuff, and basically how to damage your enemy's economy effectively and stuff like that, because I see a lot of mistakes for the economy in lower elos, and even in higher elos people just don't understand the economy. So the next video will probably be on that. But yeah guys, that is the defender video, the second installment of how to get to Radiant. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, or you want to see more of me, I stream almost every day on Twitch. I'm currently doing streaming every day of July. It's in the description below, so come check that out if you want to come hang out, drop a follow, or turn the notifications on if you want to know exactly when I go live. But yeah, see you guys for the next episode, and hopefully on Twitch as well. Later.